Hey, what's up YouTube? Dan the Fix-It Man. Got another quick video here for you. I'm going to show you how to change your front brake pads and your front brake rotors on a 2002 Dodge Dakota. This is a two-wheel drive version, and this is the SXT with the V6. Now, the first thing I like to do is push the caliper piston back inside the caliper to make room for the thicker pad material and the thicker rotors. What that's doing is pushing brake fluid backwards through the brake line up into the master cylinder. So we do need to pop the hood and take a look at the master cylinder and make sure that we have enough room inside there so that we're not going to overflow that and make a big mess. Now, here's our brake master cylinder reservoir here up under the hood. We can see just by looking at the side that the brake fluid level is low enough so that we can push that caliper piston back in, pushing the additional fluid up into here without overflowing and making a big mess. Now, a lot of people ask me if you need to remove the cap when doing this, and you really don't. Any pressure in there can still escape, but we don't like to expose brake fluid to air because it absorbs moisture, and even the moisture in the air, or the new air that's introduced, can cause that to degrade and go bad. I am going to suggest to the owner that we change out the brake fluid on this truck because this does look pretty dark, pretty old, and it's time for a change. But now that we know we have enough room, for right now, we can at least push the caliper piston back in and get the brakes done first. Now, as an alternate method, you can also just take off this cap right here and open up the bleeder screw so that when you push the caliper piston back in, that will push the old fluid out through the bleeder. And that's not a bad thing to do as well. It's actually a good way to cycle through your brake fluid. In my case, I'm going to touch base with the owner of this truck and make sure that they're good with me changing the brake fluid. But for right now, I'm just going to push the caliper piston back in so that we can get the brakes done. Now, a lot of people are going to take this off first and then push it in later with a C-clamp or a caliper compression tool, and that's fine. But I kind of like the fact that we've got this nice big open access window, and you can just grab a little pry bar like this one here and just put it in through here. You're just going to catch the edge of the rotor or the edge of the pad here and just pull that towards you. That's just the quickest way that I know to push that caliper piston back in. And then we can kind of just shift the caliper over and then come over to this side and just pry that inside pad the rest of the way in. That should be good. Now we can pull off this spring right here that holds the caliper down. Pry bar again is the perfect tool for this. Just pop it off the top and it should just fall out. There we go. Now we can loosen and remove the two caliper slide pin bolts right here in these little recessed areas. It's a 7mm Allen is what you need to pull these out. You can pull them out if they come out, but sometimes they're kind of stuck in these little recesses. We're going to clean these and put some grease on there, and we will need to reuse them. All right, now we can pull off the caliper. Make sure that you don't drop this or let it dangle from this hose here. That rubber hose can get damaged. A lot of times you can just set it right up here on the top, but I've got these little hooks that come in handy. We should be able to just hang this up out of the way for right now. All right, now the rotor, this one looks like it's just coming right off, which is great. If it's stuck on there and really rusted to this hub, you can just give it a few taps with this here. This is called a Rotor Remover 9000. It's also called a little Tanya Harding, but just hit it sometimes right here on the face. You may have to hit the actual, surface as well. But after just a few taps, you should be able to knock that loose. We got lucky. This one just kind of fell off. Now, before I put the new rotor on, I am going to brush this just to get rid of some of that surface rust. I'm just going to use a little wire brush or a little wire wheel here. Just make sure that you do wear some safety glasses if you are going to use something like this. I'm also just going to brush this surface here where the edge of the pads ride. I'm also just going to put a little bit of anti-seize on the surface here, which will help prevent that rotor from sticking. Doesn't take much, just a little dab here and there, and just kind of spread that around. Before we put the new rotor on, it's a good idea to hit that with some brake cleaner. These are packed in some sort of an oil that protects them or prevents them from rusting. So we'll just wipe that off before we put this on. All right, then we can grab the caliper and bring it around over here. We don't need this hook anymore. Now, in order to pull these pads off, I found it's kind of easiest just to rest the caliper up here up on the top. The inside pad will just pull straight out of the caliper. You just kind of pull out on the pad here. You can see this pad has seen better days. Of course, this all happened when I was prying, but you can see that that was really just about gone. Really didn't have any brake pad left here. And the outside pad is similar, but it just has these little clips right here that hold it, almost like these two little wings that hold it in place. Kind of just pull it down as you just kind of pry it out. There we go. All right, so here's the new pad. This is the outside pad, has the same little clip here on the back. Before I put this on, I'm just gonna put a little bit of this caliper grease or brake grease on this area here and underneath there where it makes contact with the metal. Just tends to keep things a little bit quieter. Just a really thin coating. You don't want much here because you'll just attract a lot of dust. Little thin coat here on the face of that caliper piston as well. Position that like so and just pull it down. See, it has these two little lugs right here. So you need to get past those little openings and it lines up and just snaps into place. Same with the inside pad. Just a real thin coating here on this brake grease and on these little clips. I find that that helps push it into the face of the piston. Just don't get any grease on the friction material or the surface of the pad or on the rotor. If you do, just wipe it off. And then this one, just kind of try to apply equal force. So there's the 3 pins. You kind of just got to get those started all together and push that into the piston. Not quite. You can see I got them started, but this back one doesn't want to go. Let's try that one more time. There we go. All right, now I'm going to show you something that came in the kit here, and it's not shown in most of these brake videos, but they're these little abutment clips, and I think they just go on the tips of these and help that slide freely along here. It prevents binding and probably prevents wear on this. You can see that those have worn in a little bit. If you look closely, you can tell that there is some wear. I don't know if this is added later or if this is just with this particular kit. I've seen a lot of videos on this same process and they did not show clips like this or didn't use them. Since they came with it, I'm just gonna go ahead and use them as long as they snap on easily. So I believe that will just snap on like so. Yep. So they just kind of hook over the little edge of the pad, just that little end piece. They're pretty snug. There we go. That's what they look like. Now I might be putting these on wrong, I don't know. Let's put on this side here too. Now these might have been a little bit easier to put on before you put the pads on. I wasn't really sure how they went. I think I'm doing this right, but you guys can let me know in the comments if you think I'm doing it wrong. Okay. Well, there they are. They're all on. Again, it came in the kit. Looks like we've got a lot more than 8, but I think that will help eliminate some wear on here. Now, I was still going to brush these here where the edge of the brakes slide, just to try to give them that little coating, which will hopefully prevent them from binding up and sticking. But these abutment clips might be doing the same. So let's hope that these will fit on there. Most of the other videos I saw, they did not use these, or maybe they didn't come in their kit, I don't know. But let's go ahead and just line this back up. Let's see if these will fit in there. Hopefully they do. If they don't, they don't. Okay, well, that's not fitting easily. Let's see if we can stake those down a little bit. If we can't, then we're going to take these little clips off. Yep, these are not going to work. Well, now the old ones didn't have them installed, and I haven't seen them installed on most other videos, and I might have even put these on wrong, but I'm going to go ahead and take these off because it doesn't appear that we can fit our new pads in with them in place. Yeah, I can't even leave the ones just on the bottom. So let's go ahead and take these off. Abandon that idea, and you guys can yell at me in the comments if I was doing something wrong, or if there's another place for these. I just didn't see them on any other videos, and that's probably why. It's quite possible that they're for another application. Sometimes O'Reilly will sell, one set of pads that will work on several different vehicles. But all right, let's just go ahead and put the caliper back on now. That should fit easily. Yep, there we go. So we did not need those little clips that came with that. Again, maybe for another application. Let me know if you guys know. Now we are going to clean up these slide pins here. And sometimes these get pitted pretty bad. Sometimes you need to use a wire wheel, but these don't look too bad. And we are going to get some slide pin grease on here, or the caliper grease. This is the one I'm using. It's by Versachem, and we should be able now to put these in. Okay, now before we can put those in, we just have to make sure that we get this pressed all the way down in place. And then we should just be able to get these started by hand first. And we're going to torque these to 22 foot-pounds. That's the torque wrench I'm using here, the gear wrench 85062. Now you can always put a lug nut on here to hold this rotor in place while you do this, but if you just kind of push on that, you should be able to line this up. All right, so the fun part is this clip right here. I know it's frustrating. A lot of people will leave this off, and sometimes they'll rub on the surface of the rotor if you don't get them in right. But it is important, so I do recommend that you do put it back on. So what I'm going to try to do is just kind of put it back on the same way that I took it off. I'm going to start with the bottom and just push this bottom one in. See, that just goes right into the hole right there. And then when we come over here, it's really hard because this, once you push this top edge past there, it's missing the hole. So what we need to do is push this part in. Let me see if I can hook right underneath there. Push that in into the hole area. And then I'm just going to use another pry bar. I'm just going to push with it. Push it like that. And give it a little tap. And it's in. Well, that looks good. Really wasn't that hard. And you're done. Now it's very important before you head out that you go step on the brake pedal several times, which will push the caliper piston back out, pressing those pads up against the rotor where they need to be. When you do that, it's important that you don't press the brake pedal all the way to the floor. That can damage the seals in the master cylinder. Just press it down about halfway several times until it feels firm, and then don't forget to double check your brake fluid in the master cylinder. Make sure that that's at the appropriate level as well. I hope you liked the video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you don't mind. That does help me out. I'll get a link in the description to some of the parts and tools used in the video as well. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck.